Okay. So today we try to prove the perfect graph theorem. So we stated that the theorem says that a graph is perfect if and only if the complement of that graph is also perfect. Now, to help prove this theorem, we actually proved a lemma, which is called the expansion lemma. Right? You take a perfect graph and then expand one of its vertices, you will get a graph which is also perfect. Now, so what we are going to do is to use induction on the order of the graph. Okay? So if the order of the graph is 1, then it's trivial, and we only need to show that given a graph is perfect, its complement is also perfect, because complementation, once you take the complementation of the complement, it is again going to be the graph itself. So therefore, both directions will be taken care of. So the base case is trivial, and so we can assume that the order of the graph is at least 2, and the induction hypothesis says that anything with smaller number of vertices, the graph is perfect if and only if its complement is also perfect. Okay. So now, what is the idea of the proof? So suppose you can show that there is a complete graph which intersects every maximum independent set in the graph, right? So if you can find a complete graph which intersects every maximum independent set in the graph, then if you remove that graph, right, the independence number reduces, right? So if you remove that complete graph, the independence number reduces, and it will not reduce by more than 1, because the complete graph can only contain one vertex from any independent set. Right? And then we try to use induction, after you do this, and then try to get back what we want, and that is what we want to do, right? We want to show that there is some complete graph which is going to intersect all maximal clicks. So we are going to consider the set of all complete graphs that are subgraphs of the graph G. Okay, so let us call this by script K. Now, again, look at the maximum independent set, and its cardinality is the independence number. And for the graph G, we will denote by alpha, right, as the independence number of the graph. Now you look at all maximum independent sets in the graph. So script A denotes the set of all maximum independent sets in the graph. That is, like if you take any set A in script A, then its cardinality is alpha, right? We don't want any smaller independent sets. So if you take any proper induced subgraph of the complement of G, then by induction hypothesis, it is perfect. Why is that?
Because its complement would be a proper induced subgraph of G, and by induction that is perfect, and its complement will be.
So given a perfect graph, every induced subgraph is also perfect, right? That is the definition of perfect graphs. Right? So since G is perfect, its induced subgraphs are going to be perfect. Now, if you take a proper induced subgraph of the complement of G, it is the complement of the some induced subgraph, in fact on the same vertex set, right, of G itself. So now the proper induced subgraph of G we are taking is perfect, and it has strictly less number of vertices. So therefore, its complement is perfect by induction hypothesis, right? Okay. A
proper induced subgraph of G complement.
Wouldn't
it be the complement of
No, because the vertex set is always the same, right? Yeah. So induce means that, like, you have only the edges which is present there. So when you take the complement, all the non-edges between that vertices will be present, right? So whenever there is an edge here, there is no edge in the complement, right? And similarly, vice versa. So now if you take, if you take the complement of super graph, then it's going to contain other vertices, right? And other edges also, right? So yeah, so this is a nice exercise. You can take some examples and make sure yourself is convinced about this. That, like, the complement of an induced subgraph is is the you know induced subgraph on the same matrix set of the complement of the graph. Okay, now. So now it suffices to prove that the chromatic number of the complement of G is at most alpha, right? Because if you you want to tell me why? Anyone? Okay, if you remember, we did this sometime before that. So if you look at the independent set in a graph, in the complement it is going to be a clique, right? And the largest independent set will give you the largest clique in the complement. So now the chromatic number of G bar is less than or equal to alpha of G, means chromatic number of G bar is less than or equal to omega of G bar, right? And that is what we want to prove, right? Because it can never be less than omega of G bar. So we will get equality. So, so we aim to prove that chromatic number of G complement is at most the independence number of the graph. Okay? So this is how we want to prove it. Now, as I mentioned before, if you can find some complete graph in the set of all complete subgraph that we are looking at, such that it intersect every independent set, every maximum independent set, right? So K intersection A is non-empty for every set in script A. Then we know that the clique number of G bar minus K is precisely the independence number of G minus K, right? But in G minus K, so the K, is a clique which intersects all maximum independent sets. So therefore, we reduce the independence number of this graph by 1, right? Why it reduces by 1? Because from a clique you can have only at most one vertex from this, right? In any independent set. So therefore, alpha of G minus K is strictly less than alpha, and alpha is actually equal to omega of G bar. So therefore, we have a graph with the clique number strictly less. So we can use induction hypothesis, right? So chromatic number of G bar is less than or equal to chromatic number of G bar minus K plus 1, which we mentioned just now, right? And this is equal to omega of G bar minus K plus 1, right? And which is, we said is actually less than or equal to omega of G complement, right? So omega of G bar minus K plus 1 is less than or equal to omega of G complement. Again, we mentioned this in the previous page. And this proves it, right? Chi of G bar is less than or equal to omega of G bar, and then we are done. So if you can show there is such a clique, then we are done, right? So naturally, we will assume that there is no such clique, and then we try to find a contradiction. Okay. So we will assume that there is no clique which intersects every maximum independent set, which means that maximal click that you are going to take, right? Every click in K, you can find some maximum independent set, right? Some independent set of the maximum cardinality, which does not intersect with K, right? For every click, you should be able to find at least one, because otherwise that click intersects every maximum independent set, right? So for every click, you can at least find one of the maximum independent set which does not intersect with K. Now, if you just go ahead with the proof, it will kind of seem like, kind of, let's say, to find a better word, like magical, right? In the sense that you may not see the intuition behind the proof, but let me try to explain it. So, as I mentioned, our idea is to get a contradiction that there cannot be such a click in the graph that which does not intersect. Now, how do you get a contradiction, right? So we can only get a contradiction to the perfectness of the graph that we are considering, right? So we assume that the graph G is perfect. Now, if we can show that there is a contradiction, then we are done, right? So we want to somehow use this fact to get a contradiction to the fact that the graph G is perfect. How do you show that the graph G is not perfect? Well, if you can show that for some induced subgraph, right, the chromatic number is strictly larger than its click number, then we know that the graph is not perfect, right? Because for every induced subgraph of a perfect graph, chromatic number is actually equal to the click number. So our idea is to come up with a subgraph of G and induced subgraph of G, and show that this induced subgraph has chromatic number larger than its click number. Now, how do you go about doing this, right? So the idea is to use the fact that for every click we can find this maximum independent set. So you collect all these maximum independent sets and look at the vertex set of all these independent sets together, right? All the maximum independent sets, and then you try to define a subgraph induced by these vertices. Okay, so you try to build a subgraph of G by looking at the maximum independent sets of G, right, and taking a subgraph induced by the vertex set of these, the union of these vertices. And then we would like to show that the chromatic number of this is actually larger than its click number. Now, how do you show that the chromatic number is larger than click number, or like how do you find a bound like this? So the best bound that we know is that the chromatic number of a graph is upper bounded by the is lower bounded by the number of vertices by the maximum independence number, right? This you remember, right? So can anyone tell me why this is a lower bound for the chromatic number? Are you with me? Nishank? Nishank, can you hear me? Yeah, so can you tell me why the chromatic number is lower bounded by the number of vertices by the maximum independence number? Anand? Anantakrishnan?
Yeah, but
We did this in the class sometime. Okay?
Should I answer?
Yeah, please. Yes.
Uh, if I set gets a certain color is an independent set, so each independent set can get one color. So the maximum size of independent set is alpha. You
Mhm.
can have at most cardinality, at least you have to have at least cardinality by alpha color. But each of those,
Yeah, so no color can be used on more than alpha vertices, right? So no color can be used on more than alpha vertices, and therefore, number of vertices by alpha is definitely a lower bound, right? Okay, so so since we know that if you take suppose you show that this this value is larger than the click number, then we are done, right? Now, see, the trouble with this is that when you try to take a graph, right, and maximum independent set. So if the maximum independents are all disjoint, then it is likely to represent the actual chromatic number, because this is just a lower bound. Now, when is this lower bound attained? Only we can actually divide by alpha if all the maximum independent sets are going to be disjoint sets. Now the trouble is that, like in most of the graphs, this is not necessarily the case, right? So if you take a maximum independent set, right, like, and there are several of these we are collecting, they need not be disjoint with each other. If they are disjoint, then we can actually try to hope that, like, by dividing by this, we are going to get this as close to the bound as possible, right? The actual number as possible. So what do we do now, right? So the idea is that, like, okay, if it is not, then let us try to make it disjoint. So how do you make the maximum independent sets disjoint? So to make the maximum independence disjoint, we are going to do the following. That so you look at each vertex, right? And suppose a vertex belongs to, let us say, T maximum independent sets, right? So we have this collection of all maximum independent sets that we are taking, right? Script A, and look at any vertex of the graph and see how many maximum independent sets it belongs to, right? It may not belong to any, so it is 0. Otherwise, it has some number of maximum independent sets this vertex is part of. So if a vertex is part of T maximum independent sets, what I am going to do is that I am going to replace this vertex with a click of size T. So when I say replace, like, I am going to put all the edges between the corresponding, vertices to all these, replace vertices, so that there's a join between this and the neighborhood. So now if I do this, then what happens? So then when I want to consider maximum independent sets, of course, from the click, I can only choose one vertex, right? But for each of the maximum independent sets, we can now choose a different vertex, right? Whenever this vertex X is appearing in that set, okay, the first case I will choose the first vertex of the click, right? And the second time, when I want to pick one, I will choose the second vertex of the click, etc. So this way, I will make sure that I have a choice of a case which are disjoint. Okay, and this is precisely the idea of the proof. Okay, so let us proceed and see how it turns out. Right. So here is this remark. Right. So we try to find a contradiction. Right. For the the perfectness of the graph G. And the idea is to show that as some subgraph of the induced by the vertices of all the independent set, maximum independent sets has chromatic number larger than its clique number. And as I mentioned, how do you show the chromatic number is larger than omega, right? The only tool actually we know, to or the best tool that we know to find a lower bound is dividing by the independence number. Right? In fact, it may be far from the the actual value, but still we don't have any, for general graphs we don't have anything better. So now what is how do you make sure that this actually represents the actual value of the chromatic number? And the way is that if the maximum independent sets are disjoint. Okay, so we now suppose that for every maximum maximal clique, right, every clique in K, we find we find AK, right, such that AK are a disjoint, right? So we want to find out, we will be able to choose some AK, right? Because we are saying that there is at least one. So if there are several, doesn't matter, we can pick one of them, right? For every K we need one AK, and we want all the AKs to be disjoint. So for that, for each K, if you can find something like this, then we can basically, use one color to color each of these AKs, and then therefore, we have the for each vertex, right? Now split into each of these alpha sets, right, which are independent sets, and colors that I use, and therefore, the for each clique we are going to do this, right? So the number of colors is basically the number of maximal cliques, which is order of script K, right? So yeah, so since AKs are not usually disjoint, we want to make them disjoint by replacing every vertex with the number of number of AKs, right, to which that vertex belongs, number of maximum independent sets to which this vertex belongs, so that now we can choose them to be disjoint. Now we want to also make sure that the perfectness is maintained, right? So how do you make sure the perfectness is maintained? By by observing that the process that we are going to do to replace this vertex will maintain perfectness. And that is the purpose of the extension lemma that we proved before, right? If you expand a vertex, right, by adding a new vertex and making it all adjacent to itself and its neighbors, right, then the graph remains perfect. And you can do this as many times as you want. Right? So we need to observe that the operation that we do is going to be obtainable from several applications of the expansion lemma. So that's what we are going to do now. So here is a an example. If you want to just look at what happens. So let us say that we have this cycle, right? Odd cycle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and let us look at the cliques. Let's say 1, 2 is a clique, right? So 1, 2 is a clique, then 2, 3 is a clique, 3, 4 is a clique, right? 4, 5, 5, 1, right? So these are cliques in the graph, and corresponding to 1, 2, I can find 3, 5 as if I take 1, 2, I can find a maximum independent set, which is 2, of course, right, which is 3, 5, right? 3, 5 is a maximum independent set, right? And similarly for each 2, 3 I have 1, 4, for 3, 4 I have 2, 5, right? I have 1, 3 for the edge 4, 5, and for 1, 5 I have 2, 4. But of course, we see that they are not disjoint, because I know 3, 5 is here, then you have 2, 5, right? So they are intersecting, right? Similarly, 3, 5 and 1, 3 are intersecting. So now I observe that each of these vertex belongs to exactly two of these independents, right? 3 belongs to 3, 5 and 1, 3. right? 5 belongs to 3, 5 and 2, 5, 4 belongs to 1, 4 and 2, 4, etc. So I'm going to now replace each vertex. Right? So this is a vertex. I make a copy of that vertex here, right? I mean, I'm going to make a copy, and then I do this for every vertex, and whenever there is a neighborhood, right, I am going to make sure that I take the join of this. So these are adjacent, and I put a complete bipartite graph between them, right? Now, why do I say that this can be also obtained as expansion? Well, I could have what I could have done is that I could have started with 2, right? I introduce this, and then I have these 2 neighbors. No, sorry, I have these 2 neighbors, right? Now, when I introduce this, what will I do? Of course, this is after I added this 2. So I'm going to now make sure that, and this is also adjacent, right? Yeah. Now I'm going to make sure that when I added this, of course, what are the neighbors of this, right? Now the neighbors of this include this vertex also, the new vertex, and this vertex. So I am going to add neighbors to each of these, right? So you can verify that if you do this, then you are going to end up in the graph that we have obtained by replicating the vertices and putting or taking the join, right, with the neighborhood, and which is exactly the same if you do the expansion lemma on each of these vertices one by one. Okay. So now once I do this, I can do the following, right? So for 1 2, let's say that I have chosen 3 5 as the independent set, right? For 1 2 edge, I'm choosing 3 5 as the independent set. Now when I want to, let's say, take 3 4, right? In 3 4, 2 5 is there, but of course 5 was already chosen. So what I will do, since I have used the vertex 5, now in this case I will take 5 dash, right? 5 dash is this, right? So I pick 5 dash instead of 5, and they are identical because all the neighbors of 5 are also all the neighbors of 5 dash, right? It's basically a duplicate of 5. So instead of picking 5, I pick 5 dash in this case. So similarly, I can do for every vertex, and I make sure that the independent sets are all disjoint. So I get 5 independent sets also here, right? And they are all disjoint because I have chosen copies of the vertices whenever I need it. So as I mentioned, since we have observed that, like what we do, the process of replicating the vertices and the expansion of vertices achieve the same graph, right? We are happy. So we maintain the perfectness. So if the starting graph is perfect, then the new graph is also perfect. Any questions? Any questions? Okay. So we continue the proof now, right? So for each vertex in the graph, right? So we look at or count the number of maximum independent sets, right? Or count the number of yeah. So count the number of let's say maximal clicks as that x belongs to ak, right? Which means that, like, for how many different clicks we are having this vertex is going to be part of some maximum independent sets. Right? So we are looking at the different maximum independent sets in which this vertex is belonging. Right? So, so n of x, is going to count for the vertex x the maximum independent set in which it belongs, right? Which we have chosen as part of the of the clique or corresponding to the clique, right? Which is disjoint with it. So now, so n of x is the set of all k belongs to k such that x is in ak, right? Where we know that ak is chosen such that k and ak does not intersect. Now, so let us say that g dash is a graph obtained by replacing x with a complete graph gx of order n of x, right? So what we just mentioned before, that we are going to replace these vertices with complete graphs of order n of x, where n of x is the number of times this was chosen to be part of some maximum independent set, right? And then we join all the vertices of g of x to that of gy whenever xy is an edge, right? In E of g. Now, of course, some of the vertices we may have discarded because in the original graph, because if it is not part of any maximum independent set, we don't want to consider that. So we can just drop them out, right? So we are going to get a graph which is obtained by expansion from an induced subgraph of G, where we don't have the vertices which we have thrown out. So take the induced subgraph of G, and from that we do the expansion. We will, n of x times for each vertex x, you are going to end up in the graph, right? It's equivalent to throwing out them later. There is no trouble. Right? So, so we note that if u is in gx and v is in gy, right? They are adjacent in g dash if and only if either x equal to y, right? In which case, they are adjacent. Or xy is an edge, in which case we are going to make them adjacent, right? So because when x equal to y, it's part of the clique, so therefore they are adjacent. And if x and y are adjacent, it's part of the biclique, right? Complete bipartite graph we are introducing between them as the join. So therefore also they are adjacent. So now what we note is that any maximal clique in this graph is actually obtained from this maximal cliques itself, right, by the expansion. Now, we have mentioned this before, that G prime can be obtained by repeated vertex expansion from the graph, let's say H, which is the induced subgraph obtained by the set of all vertices for which n of x is strictly positive, right? We are not taking vertices for which n of x is 0, right, which is not part of the independent sets. We are just throwing them out. So look at the smaller graph induced by this, and when we have G dash is basically obtained by repeated vertex expansion. Now, of course, G dash that we have obtained must be perfect because we have the induced subgraph H, which is obtained by taking some subset of the vertices of the graph G, and since induced subgraph of a perfect graph, it is also perfect. And now we have obtained G dash by expansion of the vertices from this graph, and therefore G dash also is perfect by the expansion lemma. So therefore we know that chromatic number of G dash is less than or equal to omega of G dash, right? Because G dash is perfect. Now we want to try to get a contradiction to this fact, right? So star is the condition that, and we have to show that star is wrong, right? Or find a contradiction for star, right? And that is what we want to prove. So the way we have constructed, the graph G dash, every maximal complete subgraph of G dash is basically obtained, right? Looking at, for some maximal clique, in the graph G, which is part of K, right? And then we have basically, expanded the vertices of this click to larger clicks, right? Because if you take any maximal click and then replace the vertices of this by clicks, you are going to get another click because all of them are adjacent in the graph, so we will put all possible edges between them also, right? So every maximal click in this graph is also of the form. We have basically started with a smaller click, right, in the graph, maximal click in the graph G, and then expanded it along, right? So it's basically vertex expansion of a smaller click. So that's what we have written here. Is basically an induced subgraph over the set of all, let's say, union for all x in x, right? So all x belongs to x, gx. So what is x? X is some click, right? Okay. So capital X is some click in K, right? And then we for this click we are taking the union of all gx because gx is the complete graph that we are going to uh, use to expand the vertex x and collect all them together, right? And take the vertex set of this and look at the induced subgraph over these vertices, and that is precisely a maximal click in G dash also. So now let us try to use our observations, right, and to get a contradiction. Right? So in particular, we can find some set, right, some click, let's say x in K, such that omega of G dash is actually equal to sum over all x in x n of x, because every maximal click is of this form, which means that the maximum click is also of this form, right? Because maximum click is a maximal click. So for a fixed, you can find at least one maximum click, and therefore you can find at least one click in K, right, script K, such that the click number of G dash is basically the sum over all vertices in X, n of X, because that is how we obtain this big click, right? The click in G dash is obtained by expansion for some particular set X in K. So we have this equality, right? But what is this actually, right? This is, this summation is precisely like, if we are taking, the vertex X from a click K, right? And X is is part of X, and the K is a click in the script K, and X is a vertex in AK, right? So the only time we are going to choose X is that it's part of some AK. So therefore, this is basically the number of all such ordered pairs X comma K, right? X is part of some K, and then I mean X is part of some X, because we are going to expand only when we have the click. So let me try to. So to get this big click, we are starting with some click, right? Let's say I click here. Anything else is missing? Yeah, it's fine, right? So you start from a click here, then expand each vertex to a click of whatever size, right? Is the number of times it is going to appear, right? So every time we are choosing these vertices, each of the vertex, this was part of some click, right? And we also chose it because it was part of this click, right, in the graph. So this is the K, and this was part of some maximal click that we have chosen, right? It could be another maximal click, doesn't matter. So each one was part of some separate maximal click, right? And then we chose this, and we chose this because this vertex was part of some independent set for some other clique, right? Some clique, maybe it's not part of this, but some clique. And for this clique K, this was part of a maximum independent set. That is the reason we are picking it. So this is now obtained as the set of all such ordered pairs of X and K. And now what is this? Well, this is basically, right, if you look at from the side of AK, right, AK must intersect X because we are only choosing the vertices from X, which is part of AK, right? And let us look at the cardinality of X intersection AK, right? So X is a set of, and AK is an independent set, X is a clique, right? And which says that if X is a clique and AK is an independent set, I can only choose it at most once, right? So therefore, it is summation over all K in K, X intersection AK. Now, but this is at most order K minus 1. Can you tell me why? Order of the script K minus 1. So why the summation is at most order of K minus 1? Okay, as I mentioned, X intersection AK, the cardinality cannot be more than 1 because X is a clique and AK is an independent set, right? So you cannot choose more than one vertex, from a clique. So therefore, the intersection is at most 1. But we know that when we choose K to be equal to X, right? In that case, this is going to be, like, X is also a clique, right? And therefore, when I choose K to be X, we know that, like, AK and X does not, intersect because, X intersection AX is empty, right? By the choice of AX. So therefore, X intersection AX is empty. So in that case, you will definitely get 0, right? So therefore, each time when I am going to count this, it can contribute at most 1, and at least one time it is not going to contribute 1, it's going to contribute 0. So therefore, the summation is upper bounded by the order of script K minus 1. Okay, so we know that omega of G dash is at most order of script K minus 1. But now we want to say that actually omega of G dash is equal to order of K, which will get a contradiction. So for that, we are going to use the structure of the graph that we constructed, right? So we know that order of G dash is summation over all the vertices n of x, right? N of x is the number of times the vertex x is appearing in some maximum independent set as part of, corresponding to the clique that we are considering, right? So, and when we know that n of x is 0 whenever it is not part of the chosen independent sets, right? So now this is basically the cardinality of, again, the ordered pairs x comma k, where x is an arbitrary vertex, right? K is a clique, and x is part of AK, right? For this particular chosen K. And again, what is this? This is summation over all K in K, cardinality of AK, right? But what is cardinality of AK? We have chosen AKs to be maximum independent sets in the graph G. Therefore, the cardinality is actually equal to alpha. So therefore, it is order of K into alpha. Now, when I'm going to say that alpha, right, alpha is a maximum independent set in G dash also, right? Because we have just replaced the vertices with K, and what we have, made sure is that the independent sets are not disturbed, right? It is not going to reduce. So the maximum independent set size is actually equal to alpha for G dash also, and hence we cannot use more than alpha colors, right, to color a color class, and the number of vertices is order of script K times alpha. Then each color class cannot be used more than alpha times, right? Each color cannot be used more than alpha times. So therefore, we need at least k colors, script cardinality of script k colors to color the graph, right? So that's what we are stating here. So by construction of g dash, alpha of g dash is less than or equal to alpha, right? I cannot use more than alpha colors. So therefore, chromatic number of g dash is greater than or equal to order of g dash by alpha of g dash, which is greater than or equal to order of g dash by alpha, which we just showed that it's actually equal to the order of script k, right? From here, right? This is equal to this. Once I divide by alpha, you will get order of. Okay, but now chromatic number of g dash, we show that it is greater than or equal to order of k, right? And but it is greater than or equal to order of k minus 1, right? But we showed that click number is less than or equal to order of script k minus 1, and therefore chromatic number of g dash is greater than or equal to omega of g dash, right? Oh, sorry, this is one. This is strict here, right? This inequality is strict. Yeah. So therefore, chromatic number of g dash is strictly greater than omega of g dash, which contradicts what we assume that the graph G was perfect. Okay, so that concludes our proof. Any questions? So you don't have any questions? Okay, so now we actually proved something about the perfect graph, right? If a graph is perfect if and only if its complement is perfect. But can we still say something about the structure of these graphs, right? So the structure of perfect graphs is given by what is called the strong perfect graph theorem. So in fact, these two are actually conjectures. So there was the weak perfect graph conjecture, which was what we proved as the perfect graph theorem. It was proved in 1972 by Lowash. And then there was another conjecture which was strong perfect graph conjecture, which said that a graph is perfect if and only if it does not contain an odd cycle of length at least 5 or the complement of such an odd cycle. Okay. So of course this this will imply the perfect graph theorem that we just proved, because if you show that all graphs are of this type, it either contains an odd cycle or the complement contains an odd cycle, then it is basically again symmetrical, right? So therefore we will get the previous result. So strong perfect graph theorem implies perfect graph theorem, but the proof of this is quite technical. Okay, it's several 100 pages long, and it was proved by Maria Chetnowski, Neil Robertson, then Paul Seymour and Robin Thomas. So they proved it in 2006. So it took 2 years for all them to work together to get this proved. So this is a very famous result, but we cannot cover the proof right in one course. So we will not do that. Okay. So now so this is the strong perfect graph theorem. It tells you about the structure of the graph. So now we know that to check how a graph is perfect or not, just check whether the graph contains an induced cycle of odd cycle of length 5 or more, or the complement of the graph contains an induced cycle of length 5 or more, and then we can immediately say whether it is perfect or not. Okay, your time is up, but I will give you a couple of exercise questions and then wind up the class. So let us say that G and H are graphs, and you pick a vertex in the graph G. We define graph Gx by replacing x with a copy of h and making each vertex h adjacent to the neighbors of x, right? And this operation that we just did actually before is we call it substituting Gx with the vertex x. I mean, substituting x with the graph x, right? And this is the graph that we obtain, which we call Gx. So don't confuse it with the earlier thing. So you are basically replacing x with a copy of x. So it can be arbitrary. So earlier we said that h was the complete graph. Now h is an arbitrary graph. Now the claim is that, so let G be a perfect graph and consider the graph, let's say G star, obtained by substituting perfect graphs, right, for some of the vertices. So pick some subset of vertices. For each vertex, you find a corresponding, whatever that you want, like pick some arbitrary perfect graph, right, and substitute this vertex with a perfect graph. So which means that take this graph, perfect graph H here, right, then put, matching between the vertices and the neighbors of the, this vertex that we have replaced. I mean, not matching, a complete bipartite graph between them. But of course, you don't add anything to H itself, right? And now, for another vertex, we can take a different graph and do this. But each time I make sure that the graph I am going to replace with is a perfect graph. So start with a perfect graph, and I do this on as many vertices as I want. Then show that the remaining graph that we obtain, right, G star is also a perfect graph. So you can basically do this replacement with not necessarily clicks, but with perfect graphs. You will still get perfect graphs. And here are some exercises that you should get some familiarity with this. So construct 3 graphs, each on 12 vertices, let's say, that are first of all perfect, which is not bipartite because we know bipartite graphs are perfect. Not complete, again we know complete graphs are perfect. So try to find some other perfect graphs, 3 of them. Then find 3 graphs which are not perfect also. Then the third question asks you to construct 2 perfect graphs, G and H, on 6 vertices each, and 6 vertices and 4 vertices each. And then again, we don't want them to be complete graphs. Now you substitute H, for let's say 4 of the vertices of the graph G, right? Not all vertices. Take 4 of the 6 vertices and substitute with this H, right? And then construct this graph and just try to depict it, draw it, and see and look at the properties you want. Okay. So we will continue in the next class. So that is your homework questions. Okay. So see you tomorrow. Any questions? Please feel free to ask.